as I said, it's a regular company. So what I'll do is, Hemant's introduction, I think it's better that he himself does it, right? I mean, I'm not qualified enough to talk about it, because in our company, the easiest stuff I do, the difficult one he does, right? So I take people on walking tours, he treks, he climbs and all that, right? So I'll pass the mic on to him. So only thing is, the question session, I think we'll take questions at the end, because sometimes we've seen that the questions which you ask, the answers are sometimes there in, subsequent slides, right? So what we'll do is we'll take all the questions at the end. Don't worry about the questions. We'll answer, because we've had sessions where the question and answer session ran longer than the presentation because people had a lot of questions. And we welcome that. That's fine, right? So with this, I hand it over to Hemant. So let us hear from the man himself. Right? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me at the back? Hi, Sheetal. Hi, Tanvi. Can you hear me? Kedar? Okay. Great. Firstly, thank you all for coming, braving the Bangalore traffic. And let me tell you that, and I'll show you in my slides that traffic on Mount Everest which you hear is nothing compared to Bangalore traffic. So, I mean, what you've done is amazing. Thank you so much being here on time. Sorry for the delay in starting the presentation. Again, we blame it on the traffic. Okay. So, I mean, of course, you all know that I summited Mount Everest 2 months ago. And this is that journey. And it's not that journey only of those 2 months. It's a 2-month long expedition. It's not just the journey of 2 months. It started way before, even when I didn't know that, I will do it one day. And it's not about, let's not take it as a mountain climbing kind of a presentation or a session. I think an Everest for me is very different from an Everest for you. And I'm just a normal person like anyone else, and we face those Everests in our lives every now and then. We've not nothing to do climbing. And it's about that, how to climb that summit is something maybe if you can take it from here, that will be really awesome. And that's what I've tried to do. So, without much ado, we'll just start. And we'll quickly start with a bit about the mountain itself, Mount Everest. And here I'll want your answers. So, is Mount Everest the highest mountain in the world?
In the surface.
Sorry?
On the surface.
Yes, so you're right. So actually, if you look at the Mount Everest from, from a sea level point of view, it's the highest mountain. But there are other mountains like Mauna Kea in Hawaii. There's Kilimanjaro. There's Denali in Alaska. They are much higher than Mount Everest because below the sea level, they extend down below. So the elevation is this much. 2-3 years ago, there was a survey which was taken by China and Nepal, mainly China, and they added that 0.86 and 8.5 inches to the existing elevation. Discovered by an Indian, but as always, the boss takes the credit, and George Everest was his boss, and that's where the name came, and he had nothing to do with climbing or mountaineering. But long before that, Kanchenjunga, actually before Kanchenjunga, Nanda Devi was considered to be the highest mountain, which is in India, because that's all the mountains the British had surveyed. And then Kanchenjunga was supposed to be the highest, and then somebody discovered this peak, and they called it Peak 15 before they actually eventually named it Everest. And of course, the Tibetans knew about it many centuries ago. It was called Chomolungma. Nepalese woke up a bit late and then they realized it's the tallest mountain, so they named it Sagarmatha in 1968. It means mother goddess. In terms of climbing history, of course, all of us know about this. But before this, in 1924, George Mallory and Sean Irwin, his climbing partner, part of the British expedition group, they apparently summited. I mean, it's open to debate, but I mean, they died in that expedition. Now, some say they summited and while coming down they died, so we don't know. George Mallory's body was found in 1999. Sean Irwin's is still not found. And they climbed from the north side, which is the Tibet side. Of course, if we don't consider Tenzing Norgay as Indian, which many people, Tibetans, Nepalese and Indians, after he summited, everybody said that he's Indian, they said there's Nepalese and all that. But actually, in 1965, Avtar Chima summited, Nepal 83. And these are the stats in terms of number of people who have summited since 1953. These are unique people. Many of these have summited. Maybe Sherpas 3 times, 10 times. Somebody has climbed 30 times also. And there are around 550 Indians who have summited. It's still here to come. So, might be 556 maybe. They were, of course, the casualty rate has reduced over the years. Till 2010s, 1 in 10 climbers used to die. At least last year, last year became 1 in 20. So, but around 300 odd deaths have happened since 1953 climbing Mount Everest. So, I'm going to talk a bit about myself, which Rajesh basically did do and left it to me. So, I think it all started, way back in 70s and 80s for me. I grew up in Delhi, which was close to the hills, Himalayas. And as a family, we used to travel during summer vacation. My parents are both school teachers, and of course, if you grew up in the Indias of 70s and 80s, you know how it was. There was not much out there. We were happy, playing football or doing other things. We were mainly going in the outdoors, loving that instead of mobile. There were no mobile phones there. So I remember during and my mother grew up in North Bengal, which is in the tea gardens, so very close to Darjeeling and those places. So I remember one of those trips we went there, and we had gone to Sikkim. I remember I think I was 10 years old, and Sikkim of that time was completely different, of course. I think mid 1970s Sikkim came into the Indian Republic, and it was so pristine. And I remember seeing Kanchenjunga during that time, and this is like 40 years ago, right? I still have that memory etched in my mind. I think it was so powerful, that image, that it just stayed on with me. And after that, of course, there was huge focus on study, so you study, you would become an engineer, do an MBA, do all that. So your life went on like that, and I had nothing to do with climbing, mountaineering, trekking. In between, I had an entrepreneurial stint way back in the early 2000s, and then I moved to Bangalore, and I was taking a sabbatical. And when you do that, you tend to think what's happening around you. And that was a time for me to wander and realized that in the last 2-3 years, when I was doing a startup, which we eventually sold it to a company, I felt that I was very burnt out. We were working like mad, 16, 17 hours a day, every 6-7 days a week, and we just couldn't do anything else. And I felt that maybe, and I was not happy. Let me put it that way. So I had a lot of time to think, so I started thinking what makes you happy. And I went back to my childhood, which was a happy childhood, and this image of Kanchenjunga came to me. I mean, it was Kanchenjunga and mountains, and like they say, right, mountains are calling. I think that's when I decided, okay, let's go to the mountains. And I remember in 2005, I found out a trek called Pindari Glacier. It's in Kumaon, Uttarakhand. And that time there were no trekking companies, nothing. We had no idea how to, pack our bags, wear, stuff like that. So I just went to, and there used to be this government body called Kumaon under Vikas Nigam. I went to their office somewhere in Majestic, small, dingy office, and they gave me a brochure, okay, in a form, sign karo yahan pe, and that's what they said. And we went there. I remember carrying heavy backpacks, and we had carried books, thinking that we'll read it along the way. Okay, I was wearing sneakers. There was no Decathlon that time, and there was only Wildcraft, right? And they didn't have shoes. So that was the gear which we were carrying at that time, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. It's a very, very beautiful trek, and really go to the glacier. Near the glacier, there's a putti of one sadhu called Pilot Baba. Many of you have heard of him, but he's from Bangalore, actually. He was an Indian Air Force pilot, and who then left everything and went there. So that's where, I think almost 19 years ago, that's where my trekking journey on mountains, traveling to mountains started. And then every year or so I was doing that. After that, basically this is I think I've already mentioned all this. So it's been almost 20 years now. I have done some 25 to 30 treks across Himalayas. 10, 12 of them are high altitude treks, basically above 5,000 meters. Now 14 weeks I've climbed. Before Everest I climbed some 12 weeks. Nearly 6,000 meters plus. And there's one more thing I want to tell before part of this. In 2010, I decided I was working in Lenovo, and I was doing pretty okay, corporate life, everything was set. But somehow, when you're working in such, you don't get leaves, right? And especially if you go to trek, because there's no network and your boss would try to call. So I thought, this is not gelling with me, and eventually I quit that company and decided to quit the corporate life itself in 2010. And from there on, when I quit that, I decided, okay, maybe I'll start something either in digital marketing or in travel. I had no idea what I'll do. But it gave me enough flexibility and freedom to travel more and to trek more. And during this time, I remember in 2011, I went to Nepal for the first time. Since then, I've been there some 9-10 times. And I went to the Everest base camp. Now, at that time in 2011, Everest base camp itself seemed like Everest to me. Right? It is for somebody who hasn't tried much, it would. And it is not an easy trek. It's high altitude, 17,500 feet, which is around 5,300 50 meters. And so 11 days of walking, 8 days going up, 3 days coming back. First time I heard of a word called acclimatization. I worked with acclimatization. It was cold. I'm from Bangalore. I moved to Bangalore because I was so used to this weather. It was all new to me. But there were 3 of us that time. And a friend of mine had organized, he's not here, so now this is me. It's okay. And he had organized for us, and we went there. It was nice. At that time, of course, I was younger, faster. That I used to run really fast, ahead of others. And we reached the base camp, and this is first week of April, and this is the time when climbers start towards this base camp or summit. Even this time I went here the first week. So we meet a lot of climbers, a lot of people, a lot of Sherpas, and you talk to them. It's amazing. I was a complete fanboy. I would come to them, take pictures with them, take their autographs and stuff like that. And eventually we reached a base camp, and when we were coming back, so there's a place called Lamche Bazaar at 3,500 meters, same height as the lake. And we were staying in a tea house, a lodge, and we were sitting in the dining hall having dinner. And at the end of the dining hall, I saw a bit of, I wouldn't say commotion, but there were a lot of people with cameras, heavy cameras and stuff like that. So I realized, my guide told me there's a BBC film crew, and they are filming a climber, a trekker there. So I said, okay, he's going to the Everest base camp, is it? So he said, no, he's not going to the Everest base camp. He is going to summit Everest. Now, I asked my guide, how old is he? He said he's 81 years old. So this is him and me in that long hair face. So his name is Shailendra Kumar Upadhyay, and he has a very interesting story. He was an Indian freedom fighter who moved to Nepal after India gained independence. And when Nepal became democratic, he was the first foreign minister there, of the democratic government of Nepal. And then later on, he represented Nepal in the UN. And then he retired, and he was hiking, trekking. And then one day he said, okay, hey, let me go and climb Mount Everest. I'll be the oldest person to do so. And here he was, 2011, meeting me. So I took this picture, I took his autograph, he chatted quite a bit. I came back to Bangalore, and I went online, every day to check how is he doing. And while doing so, I came across a news report which said that while acclimatizing, he died. So he had mountain sickness, and he died during that time. So I remember, it was very sad having met him and hearing this. So I remember talking to a friend of mine during that time. I told him this story, and this friend of mine, who's generally a very cynical guy, we studied together, but he said that at least he died doing what he loved most. That, I'm coming from him, plus, it made so much sense. And I, asked myself, why don't we do these things? Why don't we do things what we love? Why do we do things or have to do things which you don't like, or others like, and we have to do it? So, it gave me a clear direction in what to do. And I remember and after that, a few years later, I decided that I'll start a company which is Rustic Travel, and which I love doing the most, which is traveling, trekking, hiking, and more. So this was an amazing experience for me during that time, and since then I've been doing that quite a bit. So we climbed across, after rustic travel, I started leading groups. So we went to Kilimanjaro, Nepal, and of course we went around India in a car on a road trip and things like that. So this has been the journey since then. I remember during that time, one more thing I did, which is here. From 2016 onwards, I started leading treks. Now, walking as a trekker is very different when you are leading a trek because you are responsible for the group. You are responsible for the safety, for their health, for their experience, comfort, everything. And I remember, as I said, I used to, when I was trekking earlier, I used to just walk fast and go ahead. So now I started coming at the back and being the rear, sweeping the group. And it gave me such a different perspective of this. And I realized that I have to reskill myself. Right? I can't be just do this based on my experience. So I actually did some courses. In fact, I did this course called Wilderness First Responder. It's given by National Outdoor Leadership School, from an organization based in the US, but they have a branch here in Connecticut. And what this certification means is that you are one notch below a paramedic. And when you're out there in the outdoors, you can, basically they teach you everything from, how to treat a snake bite, how to, if you've broken an arm or a leg, how to put a sling and all that, what to do when you have hypothermia, what to do when you have altitude sickness. If you have a cardiac arrest, how to give a CPR. And this was just an amazing experience. I did that some 6 years ago. I still have the learnings with me. And after that, of course, practiced it. Fortunately, nothing untoward has happened so far. But I had a huge knowledge of what medicines to take and things like that. So the reason why I'm telling you all this and not even talked about Mount Everest before is that this has been a journey, and it gives a lot of confidence when you're out there on the mountain. And that is something back of my mind. And maybe I was looking for to climb something like an 8,000-meter peak. If something goes wrong there, you cannot depend 100% on your climbing Sherpa. You should be skilled enough to take care of yourself or him or anyone else if something goes wrong. So I think this was something I was trying to get, and this happened on its own. And with the experience and certain skills, I started feeling a bit confident about being on the mountain. So last year, so this was there in my mind. A lot of people used to ask me, but Mount Everest is a different, it's a different animal altogether. It's a different mountain altogether. It's the highest mountain. It's about 8,000. It's expensive. It's commercial. Things, all those things like that. I was not sure whether I should go for it, not go for it. I had the highest I been before that was 6,200 meters, above 6,000 many times. So I didn't know whether to do that. But I think last year, multiple things happened. One was I lost my mother last year, and I think it gave me some, I don't know, maybe the Kanchenjunga image came back again. She was from that area, Bangalore. And I remember I went on a trek last year to Langkang Valley. It was a hiking retreat which was led by monks. Krista and Ranjit were part of that. And I know that experience in the mountains, they gave me that perspective that maybe I should go for it. And I think once you go to Nepal, you feel that, the mountains keep on calling, the mountains are just amazing there. So, to prepare for this, you need at least 1 to 2 years of intensive preparation. Of course, you should have that journey or experience before you, but ideally you should be doing that. And that's what I decided. Okay, I need 1 year of intensive training to do that, and that's what I did. So last year, when I came back from Nepal in April, I said, okay, this is it. And so first is the physical part. So there are 4 aspects to it. Climbing, conditioning, which means basically going up and down stairs, hills, with a heavy backpack. When I say heavy, 20 kg plus. Cardio, basically running 10 Ks, 21 Ks over the weekends. Strength training. I joined a gym during that time. I think I didn't like going to gym, but somehow but it's very much required. The strength training is it's very important. That was part of that. Flexibility, mainly yoga. So it's a mix of these 4. 6 days a week, every week throughout the year. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's raining or you wake up and so maybe I'll sleep for another half an hour. And that thing doesn't work. You have to do that, and I'm glad I did that, because when I was climbing, I thought, I'm glad I did that. So you have to do that. There's no way going around it. Then when I decided last year, it cost a lot of money. I mean, I didn't have that. Around at least 40 hours. Because there are some, it goes onwards to 75, depending on which company you're going with, what are you doing, and stuff like that. And of course, there's a lot of equipment gear. I had a few, I bought some more. Insurance, I mean, I even made a will, because mentally you should be ready if something happens to you, I mean, which is a possibility. So this is a fraction of the packing list actually. This is not the complete list. For example, just to give a perspective, like these shoes are 8,000 meter boots, and these are 7,000 meter boots. So after 7,000 we generally wear this, but obviously we're wearing it for the whole time. So this costs around 1.25 lakhs. This is around 20,000 cheaper. And of course, there are crampons you need, the spiky things which help you walk on ice and snow. Gives a good grip. These are called ascenders or Jumar, Jumar. Basically, while going up, this helps you. So what you do is this. Where is the harness? Yeah. So basically, you wear a harness. We know what harnesses, and there are 2 safeties. There's one rope here, and both have a carabiner each. So if there's a rope, you are clipped onto that. And with a Jumar, you have the same rope. You sort of move it, and when you put it up, it goes through Jumar. You put it up, it sort of locks itself, and with that you go up. And then you sort of, that's the way you go. And when you come down, you basically abseil or rappel. So there's this ABC guide or figure of 8, it's called, so which you use that to basically come down. Then apart from this, there are those gloves. I had some 7-8 gloves, different for summit and check different. Then you have sleeping bags, which in itself are pretty expensive, 60-70K each. You have 2 of them, one is 30 degrees, which grading, and another was minus 40 degrees. So the minus 30 degree one is at base camp. You leave it there and you go up to take the minus 40 one. It does get that. So when I left, this is my room. This is all the, and this, it's somehow fit into these 3 bags, around 55 to 60 kgs. I paid a huge excel package to the airline. Yeah. So, I was talking about how long is the expedition. It takes 2 months. I remember when I reached the base camp, a lot of we had some bit of internet connection there. A lot of my friends, so I was updating on my updates. And every day I'll update things happening in base camp. And some of my friends, "Hey, why are you still here? Why aren't you climbing? Khadam karke aa jao yaar." No, dude, it takes 2 months. So basically, this is my journey. So you reach Kathmandu and you meet your Sherpas, you meet the company, and they do a gear check in terms of what all you have, what all you don't have. But if you don't have that, you buy Kathmandu and take it. You meet the team. Then you take to base camp for 8 days. Then there are rotations. I'll talk about that. Then you just wait for the weather window and summit push return, which itself takes 6 to 8 days. So I reached there on 5th April. The 8th Expeditions is the company. They are domestic travel partners as well. So I knew them for a bit, the co-founders, and they were there to receive me and met them. Then we met the team. So just to give a perspective, around 400 odd permits were given this year to climb. So on the mountain there will be 400 climbers at least, 400 to 450 climbers, and they Sherpas and support staff and all. So that's the scale of the base camp. In our company, the 8K expedition, there were 40 and across the world. So like this is Alex from France, Casper from Estonia, and he's also a free diver. Basically, he died without oxygen, and his record is 101 meters. This is Daniel Peterson from England. This is Abdul Samad. He lives in Norway, but he's from Afghanistan, and he's 23 years old. And his dad is Taliban. So this couple, Rune and Cecily, they're from Norway. Rune is asthmatic, and Cecily is type 1 diabetic, basically insulin. This is Hugo. He's from Bolivia, and he was the strongest of the lot. He was a mountain guide in Bolivia, and the 8,000 meter peaks in Pakistan, including K2, he's done all of that without oxygen. Then this is Pablo from Argentina. He's 63 years old. This is Drafko from Macedonia. He's around 58, 59. He was attempting load stage without oxygen. This is Lanchin and Eugene from AK. This is Nikolai from Russia. So these are some of the folks. There were many more people from Mongolia and China and other places. This is one part of the group. There were Nepali climbers as well. This is Tenzin, Nepali climber. He's from US and he's a DJ. So he eventually summited and first DJ on Mount Everest. So in Camp 2 we actually had a party. So he had he had organized the music system and all that. So this is our dining tent where I used to sit. I'll show you a picture with the multiple dining tents. So there were six Indians in our group, in 8K, because there is Marcus from Germany, a very good friend of mine. That's me. This is Upendra, 28, 29 years old. He's a farmer from Andhra Pradesh. He was sponsored by Chandrababu Naidu. Then this is Bansilal, who's from Chhattisgarh. He used to run an academy for kids affected by Naxal violence. This is Shameen. He's from Mumbai, but he lives in Singapore. Very strong climber. That's Dwarka. She's from Maharashtra. She's a police inspector from Maharashtra Police. Lives in Nasik. There's one more. She's not here right now. Okay, this is Lappa Sherpa. He's the boss. So he's our expedition leader. He's one of the founders of 80 expeditions. And he was at the base camp as well. And there was one more Jyoti Rathar who was not in the picture. She's from Bhopal and she eventually submitted and she became the oldest Indian woman to climb Mount Everest at 55. So, right. So let me talk a bit about how we get to base camp first. So I'll quickly go through this and then we'll go to actual climbing. Basically, you start from Kathmandu to Lukla. You fly, it's a small aircraft. And Lukla is one of the most dangerous airports in the world apparently. It's perched on a cliff with a very short runway. Every year some accident happens there. And then it's an 8-day hike all the way to Everest Base Camp, in which you stay 2 days in Namche Bazaar and in Indian Ocean. Basically, you stay 2 days to acclimatize an extra day. And along the route, it's really beautiful. If you haven't done that, you should. So pictorially, there you will find these bridges along the way, suspension bridges, beautiful. There's Namche Bazaar. There's a beautiful monastery in Goshe. And there's this beautiful mountain called Amma Dablam, which is Mother's Necklace, which is there with you as you walk towards the base camp. And this is the base camp. So this is our part of the base camp. These are kitchen tents. These are dining tents. These are our tents. Each one got a single tent. This is the ice fall. This is how you do. And these are dining tents. So there are multiple dining tents, and so base camp is actually on Khumbu Glacier. All this is glacier, and this is ice fall. So this is the way to go behind. So Everest is behind. You can't see Everest from the base. So it's a pretty luxurious place, Everest Base Camp, out of nowhere, frankly. So the best chefs in Kathmandu are here during that time. And you have a bakery chef, you have a chef for Indian food, you have a chef for Chinese cuisine, you have a chef for Western food, and different kitchens. You have the latest equipment out there. I mean, all of them are lifted by helicopter, of course. And there was a cafe also, right? We had a cafe, there was a coffee machine, cappuccinos, you want, whatever you want, cookies, cakes, every day. It was like, I mean, wow, Casa Basul. So,
Now you know about those 40 plus
yeah, it all went there. So, but certain things you have to do yourself. So, washing your own clothes. Now, once we went there, there's a little bit of training which happens 2-3 days. Basically, get used to the obstacles along the way. Mainly this kind of obstacle, which is such steep. How do you go up? How do you come down? Then ladder crossing through crevices, big gaps, which I'll show you. So this is part of the training. I mean, I'm smiling here, but when I actually do that, the smile is not there. Now, before we set foot on the mountain, there's a puja which happens, and it happens at each and every camp. And everybody takes it very seriously, irrespective of religion, irrespective of wherever you are from. Everybody, comes together and have this puja. So there were 2 monks from Bangalore Room who came and we had this puja. And everybody was part of it. So the puja is mainly for the mother goddess Sagar Mata, and in the puja we are seeking her permission to set foot on her and for a safe summit, a passage to the summit and back. So this is the whole prayer the puja is about. And as I said, everyone is very serious about it. There were climbers who came after this puja was happening, and they did a separate puja just for them. I mean, everyone was is very serious about it. It also means you respect the mountain. Right? It's not just a mountain in that you are challenging this. It's actually a being, a goddess. And as part of the puja, they also bless beer cans, some rum, all that also happens. And of course, there's a big party which follows. So that goes without saying. And since we had our own DJ, so it was a wide party. Those pictures are not here. After the puja was done, it was down to business. So I'm going to talk about which route we took and basic terrain and geography of Everest. There are 18 known climbing routes, but two are most popular. One is to the Tibet side, the northeast ridge route, and the south pole route. So pole means it's a space, between two mountains. Even a pass is that, but pole is slightly different from that. So the two mountains here are Lhotse, which is the fourth highest mountain in the world, and Everest. It generally is a flat surface, it's less windy, and it's a perfect campsite. So that's why it's called the South Pole route. So here we are here at the base camp, right? At 5,364 meters to be exact, and we go to Kumba Spot and the way up. Now, before I move back now, what is different between the two routes? So the north side route is much tougher. It's windier because it's on the north side. It's colder. It's steeper, right? And generally cheaper. Though they have changed because the permits were cheaper. But I think from next year onwards they have increased the permit rates. Something like that. However, the south side, which is Nepal side, is of course the permit itself costs 10 lakh rupees. Right? So, and then the expedition company, Sherpas, all that adds up and becomes 40 lakh plus 50, whatever. So the logistics are better here. The search and rescue happens here. It doesn't happen on the Tibet side, mainly due to bureaucracy. I mean, to China. I mean, of course, Mount Everest is on the border of Tibet and Nepal, right? So the Chinese government are very, very about rescue. They don't do that. And many times it has happened. The expedition is going on midway. They'll say, "Okay, pack up, guys, go back home." But that happens in China. So it's more stable this side, at least from the bureaucracy point of view. However, there's this place called Kumbo Export, which I'll talk about more. Many climbers I know who have gone to the north side have done that mainly to avoid this. Now, so while base camp is on the glacier, Kumba ice fall is basically a vertical ice fall, right? Which is moving much faster than a glacier, which means it changes every day. And it is a minefield of crevices, big gaps, right? Some are like wider than this room, much wider than this room. And seracs. Seracs are those huge ice boulders which could fall anytime, and they weigh thousands of tons. So it's a really treacherous zone, and every year some accident happens here. Some serac has crushed somebody, somebody's fallen into the crevasse, and stuff like that. To set a route here. Now, there's an organization called SPCC, Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee, which is responsible for Everest, right? Setting routes, taking care of the pollution and stuff like that, right? Coordinated with various expedition companies. They float a tender, and the company which wins it sets up the route all the way from base camp till the summit. Basically, route means the road, right? But there's a separate team to set up route for icefall, and they're called icefall doctors, and they're part of SPCC. Now, it's their responsibility to set up the route, monitor it daily, and change it. Because, as I said, the route changes every day. So today you go up from icefall to Camp 1, when you stay one night here and come down, the route would have changed in some cases. Because Serac would have fallen there, or some crevasse you crossed is not there anymore, some other has opened up. So it is very dynamic. And that's what I said, a lot of people try to avoid this. In fact, so this is very early morning. This is the kind of terrain which is, there's no particular path. You have to scramble all the way up, be on your rope all the time. And there are some parts where your Sherpa will tell you, sir, ab bhao yahan se. Basically, there's a huge serac there which would fall. You have to cross that, as fast as you can. Then you cross this Kumbu ice fall, you reach Camp 1. Camp 1 is a flat ground on ice and snow. It's pretty beautiful, but it's pretty windy, it's exposed. Hence, wind is equal to cold. It becomes very cold here, and there's continuous rockfall which happens. It's not exactly a safe place. So people try to avoid this. They stay here maybe just for a day during rotation, then they go to Camp 2. During the summer push, we don't even stay here. So that's Camp 1 for you at 6,100 meters. Between Camp 1 and Camp 2, it's a very gradual, flat kind of a ice and snow terrain, which is called Western Coombe. Coombe means valley in Welsh, and it's very, so from Camp 1 I saw this, it's pretty straightforward, I'll just walk, it's simple. But this is the hottest zone in Mount Everest. So temperatures are, rise up to 40 degrees Celsius in this place. So why this happens is that there are these huge big mountains, right? So this is Camp 2, this is Camp 1. Okay, there is Lhotse, up ahead is Lhotse, on the left is Everest. So this zone is surrounded by this big mountain. The heat gets trapped there. It becomes like a solar cooker. I remember during my summit push, which I went in for the second time, I was completely dehydrated because of the heat. Not me, my Sherpa was dehydrated. The other members of my group were dehydrated. I was 10 extra night in Camp 2. So that's even, of course, you take off all your layers and all that. So that's Western Coombe for you. Camp 2 is on basically walk, so it's more comfortable. There's a kitchen there, and facilities are better here than Camp 1, and it's meant to be. So people spend more time here. So you see, this side is Lhotse, this side is Everest. From Camp 2 to Camp 3 is a gradual climb, and then you reach a place at 6,900 meters. From there, so it's a gradual climb, when I say gradual, 30 degrees gradient, something like that. Then it becomes suddenly 60 degrees, 70 degrees, at 6,900 meters. And that's where you start oxygen also. Camp Camp 3 is at around 7,200 meters. And basically, when I say the steepness increases, it's like you're always like this on the road, right? Even if you want to rest, you're just suspended on the rope and just like you can't sit, because it's like this. And all the way to the summit is like this, except for a few patches. Camp 4 is slightly flat. Otherwise, it just that 60, 70, some are 80, some places. This is Camp 3. Again, it's an incline. The Sherpas took around. These are our tents. It's largely on ice, so it took them some 3 days to set up, to break the ice and make it flat to pitch the tents. And Camp 4 is pretty flat. It's very beautiful. On the left side is Everest. I will show you that. It's very beautiful. It's slightly less windy because here is low sea, there is Everest. Now, let's talk about acclimatization. I think the reason Mount Everest or anything above 8,000 meters is difficult is because there is no oxygen. So at the summit above, Camp 4 is at 7,950 meters. Technically, above 8,000 meters is what they call dead zone. Dead zone means basically your body is dying when you're there. The oxygen levels are 1/3 of what we get here or sea level, right? And of course, another thing is wind. Now at 8,900 meters or 30,000 feet, this is right at jet stream, right? This is where the jet stream flows. Now what is jet stream? This is where all our aircrafts cruise, right? At that altitude. And the jet stream speeds are 200, 300, 400 kilometers per hour. That's the wind speed. Now, this is the kind of wind which throughout the year is on Everest. Now, you will ask that question, so how come you guys didn't climb during that? So, we don't climb at those wind speeds. So, every year, jet stream takes a vacation in May. But only for a few days. These are a handful of days, right? And mountains, you never know weather changes, so sometimes you get a report, okay guys, this is a weather window, go up, the wind has come down, but it comes back. So you come back also from the higher camp. It has happened this time also. But of course, with time, the data is more reliable. In fact, at 8,500 meters on Everest, between the Camp 4 and the summit, they have actually put a weather station there. So it's a thing which collects data, a structure they have put there. So all the data comes from there. We get the data from the Japanese wind department, so it was pretty accurate. So, since it's above 8,000 meters, there's low oxygen, acclimatization is of paramount importance. Now, rotations mean that you have, to acclimatize, basically you have to climb high, sleep low. And for something like Everest, you have to do it multiple times, and every time going on a high altitude. So, ideally, historically, in the past, at least 3 rotations people used to do. Now, one is go till Camp 1, 6,000 meters, 6,100 meters, come down, sleep in the base camp. Then go back again to Camp 2, come back again. Then go to Camp 3 and come back again. That's how it used to be, right? But people like shortcuts these days. So, what happened this time? And a lot of people try to cheat that system. Like I tried to cheat that system. Not exactly cheap. So I went and climbed Lobuchai East Peak, which is not in that route. But the altitude is 6,119 meters. So technically I have done rotation 1. I've been on that kind of that altitude. So I've been to Camp 1 and come back. So And of course, it gives a good practice. It's pretty steep, this one itself. So this is something I did. So for me, a rotation tick mark हो गया, right? So and the reason I did this, and a lot of people did that with me, quite a few people, is just one reason. And that reason is to avoid combo ice fall. So I don't have to go through combo ice fall to camp one in the rotation and risk myself. So this was that. And then finally, we went for the second rotation. For many people, it was the first rotation. Now, what happened this time was that the icefall doctors laid a route, which was, and they tried to make it as safe as possible. So, which is away from the seracs, away from the, and have the narrow crevices. Now, by doing so, what happened was that the route became very long. So, a typical 6-hour route became some 8 to 9 hours. So, when we started, and Lakpa Sherpa came and said, okay, group 1, group 2, you guys go tonight, you guys go tomorrow. The brief was, you go to camp 1 and come down. That was the brief, to group 1. Those guys went there, and from camp 1 they radioed in that we are not coming back now. This is our rotation, from here we'll spend more time. Go to higher camps and come back. So basically, this in the first rotation itself, they stayed some 4-5 days there. And we also did the same. So basically, you start in the night. It's around 2 a.m. or so. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. is when we start. And we start during that time because that's when everything is frozen, right? It's stable. It cannot fall down. So with our headlamps and everything, we start. This is a ladder crossing which I was doing. What is called, just to show you how it is. So as you see, there are two safeties, one here and one here, right? So in case I fall, at least they will try to hold me. So this is one of the easiest ones that I can do. And this time, luckily, there was only one ladder in all the cases. You've seen videos of previous year, there are 2 or 3 ladders, tied up to each other. So the SPCC had ensured that they will, by doing so, there will be smaller crevices to do that. So that was some comfort. This is, then we reached Camp 1. This is Camp 1. I show you the picture. Weather was nice when we were doing the rotations. And this is the western cone. Then from Camp 2 we go up till the Jumar point, which is where the steepness increases. This is wild rotation, and from there we come down. This is how we rappel down. This is from that point, 6,900 meters. After that, so we spent around 5 days. This is part of my rotation. 5 days on the higher camps, and then we have to come down via Mumbai score, right? And we have this kind of. So somewhere I remember around similar to this guy is climbing up, but we were coming down. Somewhere like this, I remember I had an awkward landing, right? Climbing up is much easier in these kind of terrains. Climbing down is very difficult. And I twisted my knee. while doing so. And then I got myself up and started walking, and my knee became very unstable and fell down again. I realized immediately that I had a degenerative. That is my left knee. And quickly my brain processed that information and said, okay, it's game over for you. I'll try to reach base camp safely. And from there I could see base camp with tiny specks of tents are there. So it took me 5-6 hours to reach there, which would have taken some 2-3 hours. And I was extra careful of not putting, weight on this knee, and I told my chef to go extra slow, one step at a time. We eventually made it, and once I reached there, there are team of doctors in the basement. So I went and saw them, and they don't have the equipment there, but they examined me and all that. They said, okay, this year, that year, all kinds of they told me, sorry, you have to evacuate yourself. So next morning I took a helicopter out from the base camp and went to Kathmandu. I remember it was 1st of May, and they put a brace when I reached Kathmandu. X-ray, MRI, stuff like that. Next morning the doctor came, the orthopedic surgeon checked the reports, X-ray was fine, no fractures. MRI, he said, okay, it's not a tear, it's a sprain, ACL, cruciate ligament. So there was some ray of hope. Before that I had decided, okay, I was looking at flights also back to India, all those. And he said we could take off the brace and start walking. And in a day I was feeling pretty okay. The stiffness was gone, I could walk. And so I was discharged the same day, and I went to the hotel and I sort of rested there. So now so many good things happened during this time. I would say I was very fortunate. One, it was just a sprain. Two, my acclimatization was over. My rotations were over. So technically I was acclimatized. And I don't have to go up the mountain again. So I just have to move for the rotations. Now, most of the group, after the acclimatization is done, they go to a lower orbit to rest. Basically, they go to a tree line where there's abundant oxygen or there's oxygen there. It helps you recover, and it's recommended because while at the base camp, in high altitude, your body loses a lot of, basically you lose immunity, you have a lot of buzz. Your stomach goes for a toss, and there's this thing called Kungu cough. Everybody has it. Basically, you're incessantly coughing, dry cough. Never ends. And everyone, raat ko you're sleeping in tents, is coughing, happening in I mean, even I had Kungu cough. And when I went to Kathmandu, with all that rest and oxygen, I was recovered. So it was a blessing in disguise, I would say. I was in Kathmandu for 9 days, and I felt good. During this time, during rotation, there was this another climber friend of mine from Morocco called Murad. In the camp one itself, next day when we woke up, he said he couldn't squat. Basically, he had also had a tear, and his was very bad. And he tried to recover, do physiotherapy. Eventually, had to go back. He had to abandon his expedition. So, around 9th or so, a lot of climbers went back. So did I. And I flew midway to the base camp in a helicopter. I didn't go all the way because I wanted to walk to the base camp some days to see if I'm fine. So 2 days I walked to the base camp with a backpack and all that. I felt good, I felt confident. And then once we reached the base camp, we reached on 11th, and then everybody was waiting. Now we were waiting for the weather window. Right? I told you about those particular days when the wind speed comes down. So this time there were 3 weather windows. One was 13th, 14th May. other was a longer one, 19 to 23rd May, and the third one, shorter one, 26 to 27th May. So in the first weather window, 13, 14 May, the studs of the group, they went submitted and came back. All those guys did. There were some fatalities also. So bulk of the group, the Janata group, was part of. We went for the second weather window, 19 to 23rd. So there were two groups, which is the first one ahead of us, and we were the second one. Where we started on 17th May. And again, you have to go to the city. You have to basically come to us. This is the second time I remember, and this was there in the first time also. We reached pretty early in the morning, and you see a lot of people in front of me. They were many more behind me as well. It took me 1 hour just to clear this traffic in Goa. And this is a wall. This is the end of the boys' wall. It's pretty difficult to climb, so it takes a lot of time. So then we reached Camp 1, going through Western Room, and I was dehydrated. My team was dehydrated. Ship was dehydrated. We went to the camp. We stayed there extra night, recovered, and then we went to Camp 2. From Camp 2 to into Camp 3. I remember when we started from Camp 2, the weather was very nice, but as we reached that Jumar point, where it was somewhere rumbling, where the gradient becomes this steep, it started snowing, and a huge, this is that day. There is no sunlight, nothing, just whiteness all around. And there was wind, there was snow, but in that you have to go. You can't keep on going back where the weather changes. So went to Camp 2 to Camp 3, and so the traffic was started building up right from Kumbho as well, because it was a big weather window and everybody was going in that. So when we reached Camp 3, there were 3 of us sharing that tent: Dwarka, Sherpa, and me. And Sherpa and me, and we decided, okay, let's start early in the night, around 2 a.m. or so, to go to Camp 4. So that we beat the traffic. We go there, we have more time to rest in Camp 4, and then we will summit. Ideally, one is not advised to sleep in Camp 4, because again, it's almost dead zone there. So you go there, rest, you summit, come back, and come down immediately. You don't spend too much time in camp. So we started from Camp 3. So we thought we'll start in the night, but it started snowing in the night. And we couldn't go out in the night. So in the morning when we woke up, the weather was still like that. And I said, okay, maybe we'll spend one more day. My Sherpa came and nothing doing, let's go now. So, very soft-spoken guy, his name was Temba Goche. Very nice, soft-spoken guy. But when he had to, command or send instruction, he would be like really rude and ruthless. So that's what happened. So in the morning we went, started, and along with us, entire Barat, caravan, whatever we call, you can see. So this is these are rocky patch, slightly yellowish color, and that's why it's called yellow band. It's a very steep section, and it's a bottleneck. The reason it's steep, second it's rocky. So while you're crampons, you can walk on ice and snow, but on the rock, there's no grip. And invariably climbers struggle to cross this section, and while they do that, there's a big bottleneck and a sort of queue forms up behind that. So I was here, this is my Sherpa, and a lot of climbing that were waiting, so I shot this, many videos there, this is one of them. So you hear that cough, that's Kumbho cough. Sherpa had it. So it's one rope, in some part there might be two. So which means that in one rope you're going up, and the climbers who submitted yesterday, right? They're coming down the same rope. Their rescues happening on the same rope. Rescues meaning if some climbers is injured, they're dragging him down, right? Some 3-4 Sherpas, and they'll clip, unclip, and go. So finally, which would have taken us 7 to 8 hours to reach Camp 4, it took us around 11 hours. And this is Mount Everest. Such a beautiful campsite it was, and the sun had come down by then. Before that, of course, there's a section called Geneva Spurs, which is as ruthless as, or even worse than Yellow Man, but eventually reached. So once we reached there, I think around 5 p.m. or so we reached. So we had 2 to 3 hours to rest after walking for 11 hours, and then go and summit, which is another 20 to 28 hours to go up and down. And it could be more because of the traffic. So some of us in the group and my Sherpa, Pemba Dorchi, we decided that we will not summit that day. We will sleep in Camp 4. And basically, after, as I said, Camp 3 onwards, right? Before Camp 3 onwards, you're on oxygen. So while sleeping also, you're on oxygen. So we'll sleep in Camp 4 that night, and next day, we'll summit. And they were, rest of the group, they went and summited, and many of the group, other climbers from other companies, they went and summited that day. So next day evening is when we started. Now when I came back from Kathmandu, I took a decision. I knew that while my injury was fine, but of course these kind of injuries don't go away in days. Right? It takes weeks, months to go away. And I was very much aware that this could come back. And if it comes back while I'm there, then I'm gone. Right? Sherpa can't do much because eventually I have to walk myself. And I will be extra slow, especially while coming down. That's when it typically could recover. So, on the advice of Lakpa Sherpa and Pemba Dorchi, I decided to take one more Sherpa. Now, his main role, he was actually, his name was Antashi Pemba Dorchi's younger brother. His main role was to carry extra oxygen cylinders for the team. So, what this will do is, it will free my Sherpa. He could help in changing from one group to another, and be free with me, and his brother will just carry the oxygen cylinders for us. One oxygen cylinder weighs around 4 kilos. Of course, on the mountain, it's like 4 times of that or more. So,
How long does it last?
So typically, okay, it depends on the flow, right? So at the minimum flow, which is 0.5, it lasts up to 15 to 16 hours, and at the maximum flow, it lasts around 4 to 5 hours. And you keep on varying it depending on, for example, when I reached Geneva Spur, Yellow Man, I was okay. I was completely on 0.5. Geneva Spur was really bad. I told my Sherpa that can increase it to 2 please. And he increased it to 2. I could find that spring in my step and I could do it. It makes a huge difference actually. So when we started on 21st May, now many here who were following my trip, I had shared them my summit plan. They thought I would have already submitted, so they were really worried what happened, no news, right? They didn't know I stayed for extra night in Camp 4. So we started on this evening, and this is the video I took while going up. So there's Makalu, which is the 5th highest mountain. There's Lhotse, 4th highest. Such a beautiful nation. Such a beautiful well-lit place. And there were very few people, as you can see. So we were like really encouraged by this. So as it became darker, that's camp 4. Now, when we started in the evening, there were others in my group who went with me. Some went ahead, like Marcus. Dwarka went much ahead. 3 hours before me. There was Rune and Sisi were just behind me. And while climbing up, basically the shape was like a radio and they were talking to each other. So we heard this news that 2 of our climbers are missing. So basically Daniel Peterson was and his Sherpa. So they were part of our group and who went 1 day before us from Camp 4. So that's the news we heard when we started climbing. Something happened on the northeast ridge, not northeast ridge, sorry, on the ridge, every step. I'll show you, and they are missing. So, this is when we just started. It was really, and this is one guy I met every day. We talked, we ate together. Cicely behind me, she was coming with Rune. She was so distraught. She abandoned her summit. She went back to Tampa. She could take that, that this could happen to me. And when you say missing, right, it basically means they don't come back. So with that, I was very extra careful. And for the scenery change, and it became darker. There was some bit of moonlight that night, and after some time it was on headlamp. So you would see just lights walking in a line, through the mountain. It was just amazing, beautiful, but it was so steep, right? And I was thinking of all the training I did in the past. It's long. It takes 11 hours, 12 hours one way, 8 hours, depending on how fast it's to do. You have all the time in the world to think, right?
You need oxygen for that.
Yes. So I started 0.5 and I was 8 kar de yaar. I can't think. So you're going, and all this while I was thinking about basically you have to push yourself, you have to motivate yourself, and you have to be very clear if something goes wrong. I was very clear, even if I don't make the summit, something goes wrong, weather or whatever, I'll come down. It's okay. A mountain is not going anywhere. I was very clear about that. But how to keep on moving, and at some point the knees did a little bit of oh, is it coming back? So I was just focused one step at a time. And when you climb, basically you walk 10 steps, then you stop. It started with 15. It became 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, 1. Okay? Most of the time it was just one step, breathe for many seconds, then walk another step. And there's this rope, right? You're jumaring all the way. There's people behind you, right? Who are sort of pushing you. Oh, chalo, chalo, right? So after a point, I'm okay. If you guys want to go, please overtake. So, so throughout the ride, basically you go to a point called balcony, which is slightly flattish. It's midway between South Coast, which is Camp 4, and the summit. And that's where the weather station is. I remember we changed our oxygen cylinder there. You can tie it up, the places there. And then you take a slight left, and the steepness dramatically increases. Basically, you're on South Summit. Now, South Summit, had it been a summit on its own, it would have been the second highest mountain in the world. It's 8,740 meters, higher than K2. And steepness just kept on increasing. And we were walking through the night, and suddenly it became morning. And I remember this. This is the video my Sherpa took. Just walking on South Summit. That's me with the blue gloves. So all this while I was thinking, okay, I will go up one step at a time. But I was also thinking, okay, this is the same route I have to go down. Which was even worse. Then you come down to South Summit, and I remember once we reached the summit, suddenly we couldn't find roads. So my Aunt Tashi was there looking for ropes, and it was buried under snow. We found, and then we resumed our journey. You come down to South Summit, the narrowness increases. Basically, you are on this ridge. Okay. Now, when we came down the South Summit, I met few climbers coming back. I met Dwarka. Much before, in the night, I met Rune, who had summited, who was like a very strong climber. Summited and came back. I met Marcus. And basically, from South Summit, another 45 minutes to 1 hour. So this is the summit, right? So it looks very close by, but actually it's not. So this is the video I took on that bridge. Just see the narrowness of the. So this side is Nepal, this side is Tibet. That's me. So on the ridge, there used to be a not structure, but there used to be this boulder, huge 30-meter boulder, which is called the Hillary Step. That was supposed to be the most technical part of Everest and that altitude. Now, it was a steep wall, and you had to sort of go up, and that used to be a bottleneck at this altitude. Now, in 2015, apparently, the earthquake happened, and apparently that is one theory, that Hillary Step was sort of, came down. The other conspiracy theory is that the Sherpas just went and, were down to make it easier for climbers to go up. I believe the second one, of course. So basically, when we reached down the South Summit, my Sherpa said, okay, that's Hillary Summit. And I found it very easy to cross. So basically, it had all gone away. It used to be a very tough climb. Now you saw how narrow this ridge is, right? One day before, right, when there was a lot of traffic, this ridge was completely crowded. The day we were supposed to go, and we didn't go. Like there were climbers who had summited coming down, there were climbers going up. So huge bottleneck happened. I mean, there are pictures floating in on the internet. And here, during that time in the morning, something like this, huge cornice of ice, it just collapsed. And along with it, some 6 climbers fell on the Tibet side. So Daniel Peterson and Sherpa were among them. 4 were clipped to the rope. So they were suspended hanging on the Tibet side. So they were rescued, self-rescued. Daniel Peterson and Sherpa passed in the Sherpa, they were not clipped. They just fell down 1,000 meters down. It's very steep, that Kangshuk face it's called, that area. They just tumbled down all the way. And there's no search and rescue which happens there, so nobody would have made it. So that's what happened. Apparently, that's the theory. Now, many people ask me why were they not clipped. I mean, they were not rookie climbers, of course. So they must have, while maybe going through other climbers, they may have unclipped, and during that time it happened. So nobody knows what happened during that time. Or maybe they were suspended, their carabiner broke, I don't know. So these are various, but that unfortunate incident happened that time. And finally, I reached the summit. So a lot of people ask me, is it like this, like one person summit? So there are some 15 people on the summit along with me. Okay, so this is the summit. This is the highest point of the earth, right? And you could see the weather. It was beautiful. And I remember I had 3 cameras with me. I had an iPhone, I had a GoPro, I had an Insta360, and they were in my dorm suit. So when I took them out, all the batteries were gone. All these fancy cameras, Insta360, very little was left. So thanks to my Sherpa, who had a simple phone, he took these pictures. So we didn't know. I had lost track of the time only. Watches stopped working when we started, and watches show China time versus Nepal time, all that. But so when we reached the base camp, Sherpa and I checked the timestamps of the photos. So we were there around 20-25 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, we were there quite a bit. But I was very clear when I reached the summit, and it has come from, I think, experience of doing earlier summits. Like you just go summit and come back immediately. You don't spend much time there. So when I reached there, I just told myself, okay, dude, you just reached halfway through. This is not it. You have to come down, right? Then it will be over. So I was like, okay, let's quickly get on with it. People ask me that question. So, what did you feel? All that. This was my reaction, guys. A bit disappointing, but okay. Very business-like. Go, take picture, take a look around, and then come down. And I remember we were on touch with Lakpa Sherpa on radio. He said congratulations and all that. Okay, now guys, enough, now come down. The weather is changing. And I remember, you see the brightness here, right? At the back, blue sky. This video was taken after the pictures were taken. You see the wind start blowing. Right? The weather changes like that. And of course, while taking pictures, I had taken off my gloves like a fool. And I was frost nipped. I think it's been 2-3 weeks since I got sensation back on my fingers. So it was fortunately not frostbitten. And luckily all my pictures are over, then it happened. So I think the wind started blowing, then it happened, and coldness increases like exponentially. My hands became like a rock. So I just put them in my mouth, tried to thaw them, then I put them back in my mittens, gloves and mittens, 3 layers I was wearing. And I told my Sherpa to make the oxygen max, right, to 4, because oxygen warms it, right? You need oxygen to do that. So we did all that, and then we started walking back. So this is South Summit, okay? How weather changes. So I was snowing, and when this is what happening, many of you have seen the movie Everest, right? 1996 disaster. That's what happens when they come down. A storm hits them. So it was there in my mind. I was like telling, and I could see panic all around. I could see other climbers, and you can make out who are amateurs, who are professionals. there were people who were trying to just slide down, which is very dangerous, right? There's a way to come down, right? There's a technical way to come down. And many people were just like that, just running helter and skelter. And this is still South Summit, very steep. So it was panic all around. And somehow, I don't know, maybe I just told myself, okay, one step at a time, just keep on going.
So people are still summiting when you are descending?
No, this time most of the people going up were done. Or people who were coming, they would have been tortured about this. Had I come maybe 1 hour later and all that, I would have also gone back. And Sherpa wouldn't have let me climb in this weather. Then we reached Camp 4, and Camp 4, doesn't mean that, this thing is over. You still have to go down, like through Genie Busper, through the Yellow Band, and all those steep, places like this.
But I'm sure the celebration should have started.
Yeah. Before Camp 2 it started. This is before Camp 2, we just called them and get some Coke. So Coke is very popular while climbing because it's sugar. Instant calories, instant energy you get, and the freezing point is lower than water. So all the summits we take this. That's Bangalore Room and Antashi. And these are also the cylinders. And finally we reached on 24th May. So this time 8 climbers lost their lives. The top 5 you see, all of them are from my group and 8 expeditions. Bansilal, I told you about, right, from Chhattisgarh. And he used to sit right next to me in the dining hall and used to hang out with me. When I went to Kathmandu, he used to send me messages, when are you coming back? I used to tell him, I don't know. And when I was coming back, of course, he asked me to get him a shaving kit, some dry fruits for the summit push.
Was it an accident or?
So what happened was that when we were going from camp, he went one day before me. He was a pretty good climber. Fast, strong climber, though he didn't have much experience, I would realize later. So he, we were going from Camp 3 to Camp 4, right? I told you about the traffic on the way, right? And there were rescues happening. So one of the rescue was his, I remember. So we were going up in the steep incline, and I see one body coming down, dragged down. So only thing, it wasn't a body, it was him, still alive but unconscious. So there's 4 Sherpas dragging him down. They cross because there's only one rope, you have to cross us, so we give them way. So they took him to Camp 2, that's where the helicopter lands. And from there they went to the hospital in Kathmandu. Now, apparently what happened is there were multiple versions when we were going up. But what eventually, and then I went back to Kathmandu after the summit. I went to the hospital to meet him. Of course, I couldn't see him, he was in ICU. 2 days later, he passed away. What happened was HACE, high altitude cerebral edema. Basically, water gets filled in the brain. But we were wondering why, how could it happen? So he was walking up very faster than usual. That's what Shamim, who went with him, told me. When you go up, while acclimatizing, you go slow. That's the mantra. You have to climb slow, basically. So something happened along the way. Camp 3, he started feeling weak. His Sherpa said, you go down. He didn't listen to him. He went up. Camp 4. Then they said, no, it's not. I want to go still summit. But he didn't listen to his Sherpa. That's a version I'm getting. And together they went. Just after Camp 4, he collapsed while summiting. Then they brought him down and I saw him along the way. So basically, to answer the question, that's what happened to me. These two are Mongolians. There were 3 Mongolians in our group, very strong, okay, and they went in the first weather window, 13, 14, and they were summiting without oxygen. Yes. So our expedition leader, Lakpa Sherpa, told me that, hey guys, you can take one Sherpa from us with the oxygen cylinder. You don't have to take it. And they were doing without Sherpa support. So a lot of people do that. So they said, no, we are stronger than Sherpas. We will just go. So 3 of them went up. Camp 4, they reached. One of them started feeling uneasy. He came down. The other 2 went up. And they didn't even take the radio with them. And they went missing. Somewhere near the south summit, basically, they just died. You know about passing Sherpa and Daniel Peterson, how they fell off. So,
of your group of 40, 5 of them?
40, or yeah, it's a big ratio.
Okay.
And I mean, I used to interact with them very regularly, and we used to see them in the Atlantic, and they didn't talk much, but they're part of your camp. While going up, just 5-10 minutes from the summit, you sort of cross the ridge. When I was going up, I saw one climber struggling on a rope. And his Sherpa was trying to help him and all that. So we crossed them and went up, took our photos. And the weather turned at the summit itself. And we coming down, I saw the same climber lying with his head on his Sherpa's lap and crying. I was like, with this weather and this is a situation, there's no way in the world they could make it. At least that climber. And we just crossed them and came down. And much later, when I came back to Bangalore, I was searching. So that was him. He was a Kenyan climber who was trying to summit Mount Everest without oxygen. And it was, as the report said, the same day, same time, same location. That's where he was. And his Sherpa, he went missing. So what would have happened? He may have spent a lot of time, and he was consoling him when we crossed him. So he would have run out of oxygen. That's my theory is. So when we were coming down in that storm, so somewhere between balcony and South Pole, Camp 4, midway on the rope, we saw one climber suspended. I mean, he was sort of struggling and all that. He was alone. So we had to cross him, right? Because there's only one rope. So we saw his mask was off and, things. So we went to him, put his mask back. My Sherpa checked his oxygen flow, all that. He did that. It was clear that he's running out of oxygen. So I told my Sherpa, let's give him our cylinder. He'll be better and all that. So my Sherpa ignored me. I pleaded with my Sherpa, de do yaar isko, jaan bach jayegi, all that. Right? He just didn't listen to me. He said, chalo, let's go. And we left him and went. Next day we were coming from Camp 4. We saw 4 Sherpas going up, apparently to get his body. That was it. I mean, I didn't, of course, I found out after I came to Bangalore that I could do it. So, I mean, unfortunately, I have a link with all the 8 fatalities which happened this time. I mean, it was a mixed. I mean, when I came down, my emotions were very mixed. I mean, I remember not talking to people for a week. It was, as you rightly said, the 5 climbers from our group passed away. There were no celebrations when we came down. There was no party, nothing. We just met in Kathmandu and then. But
You all part of 8 cases?
the top 5. Pastor Sherpa, he was just 23 years old. That's a small kid. There were, of course, some good news also. He submitted Everest 30 times. This time he submitted 2 times. Purnima Shesh, she is a Nepali climber who has done Everest before, K2 and other mountains. She summited Everest 3 times. When I say 3 times, go from the base camp to the summit, come back to the base camp, again go back, come back and again third time. So all the 3 with the window she did that. And that's a record. Before that, Anshu Jamsimai from Arunachal Pradesh from India, she held the record, having done it twice. Jyoti Rathre, she's the oldest Indian woman, I told you. She was part of my group. I met Kamya during rotations. I actually met, she and her father were climbing it. And I get to talk to her and father quite a bit during the rotation. She's from Mumbai, she's 16 years old. And it's not that she's 16 and she has no experience. She's from 11 years she's been climbing. And she's done quite a few peaks, so she comes with good experience. And she was obviously going ahead of her father who was coming by slowly. Satyajit Gupta, so he went to Everest, then went to Lhotse, traversed to Lhotse, came down to base camp, again went to Everest, went to Lhotse, came down. In 6 days, 7 hours. It took me 8 days for the entire summit. And Rigzin he's from Ladakh, and he did Mount Everest without oxygen. Before that, he's done Annapurna and one more. I think he was without oxygen. Right. So I'm almost done. I just want to show you one video, which will give you the entire route. It is a combo ice fall.
This is the drone video, right?
Yes, DJI. Yeah. This is combo ice fall, guys. No wonder we can do multiple rotations. It's endless. Then you reach camp 1. There's Western Cove. That's camp 2. This is the Jumor point I was talking about. And then steepness in between. This is the low band. Lhotse Camp 4. This is Geneva's Spur. This is balcony. That's also met. So yeah, already set on the ridge. So guys, we have recorded one podcast. So we host a podcast show, the Rustic Travel Podcast. So it's even longer than this presentation. So if you're not satisfied with this, you can always go there, the Rustic Travel Podcast on Spotify.